Well, hello, welcome back to A Course in Miracles and this series of videos, which is so much fun for me to record. If you have not caught some of the very first, just a bit of backstory. This whole series began as a live stream on Enlightened World Network, which has several Facebook groups that are channels here, online channels, and it's the site of some really tremendous and uplifting spiritual related programs. A lot of programming and related to spirituality, related to earth-based spirituality. There is a channel that's related to using the physical body differently than we do. It's very, very cool. And I was approached by Dr. Ruth Anderson in January of 2021, about 13 months ago, to start a live stream. And for several months, this series of recordings was a live stream on Enlightened World Network. And we decided after a few months to take it off of the live platform and pre-record, which is very cool. Oh yeah, yeah, it's very cool. And I find that the delivery is even more fun for me. It's even more effective. One of the main reasons is I'm not scrolling this device right for the live commentary, which does not mean, by the way, that I don't welcome commentary. I do. So please feel free to leave comments here on YouTube. Now, you'll know if you're joining me from Enlightened World Network's YouTube channel that this is still offered on their platform, just in pre-recorded form, which is great. So whichever channel, my own or Enlightened World Networks you've come from, I want to take this opportunity to welcome you and thank you for joining me. And more than anything else, thank you for your interest and for your practice, for your genuine interest in spirituality. Because by the time somebody gets to A Course in Miracles, they're definitely interested in spirituality. It is the nature of this. The course is a self-study course that is universal in theme, universal in application. In other words, it's not a religion. It's not a religious system. It's a self-study curriculum that you take literally at your own pace. You can use this material on its own as a complete and beautiful spiritual path, or you can take these ideas and use them to benefit you in your own walk with whatever spiritual traditions you currently practice. Whether you are involved in the practice of a traditional world religion or not. A Course in Miracles contradicts nothing. It's universal, and many people have used this material to help them understand their own path more deeply, more comprehensively, and more effectively. Because spirituality is all about application. So with A Course in Miracles, you're not expected to do anything. And even though it uses the word course, there's no quiz at the end, and there's no final exam, which I think is proof enough that God is love and is not cruel, right? There are no midterms. There's no dead week before the final. That's not the way it is. Rather, what we do is we apply these ideas moment to moment every day. It's simply the present moment. Do we choose love or do we choose fear? Do we choose God? Do we choose the ego? Do we choose healing? Do we choose death? That's the choice. That's the choice, moment to moment. And if we choose wrongly, how do we know we choose wrongly? Well, how do you feel? If you feel angry, fearful, right? Frustrated, anxious. If you don't feel good, then Use the present moment to choose again, rather than beat yourself up for having chosen the ego and chosen to see yourself as separate, cut off, little, limited, frustrated. Yeah, we've all done that, but we have the opportunity right now in the present moment to choose yet again. That's a very beautiful thing. The past literally is gone. There's no need for us to continue to relive it, is there? Clearly, I'm not the first person to say this, nor will I be the last. And likely, I won't be the only one that you hear in this lifetime, maybe even today, right? But the past really, truly is gone. Every moment is an opportunity to choose love. And to the extent that you've done that, you will know how that feels. And my hope, and every spiritual teacher's hope, is that you'll use that as fuel, as positive motivation to go forward and to continue to extend love, which is, in fact, the truth of who we all are. All right. So for those of you that are just popping in and watching this series of videos for the first time, we're on lesson 279 of the workbook, and both Jesus, the author of A Course in Miracles, and I recommend that if you're interested in going through the workbook for students, that you don't start at lesson 279, but that you go back to page 1, lesson 1, please. Everything will make more sense when you do that, because each idea follows up on the previous idea. The idea being your experience and learning base builds successively, and no more than one idea per day. And trust me, it's more than sufficient. It's more than sufficient. Now, however, if you're just popping in and you see me talking about lesson 279, stay tuned and don't leave this video, because I'll say some things that will apply to you. What exactly that is, I have no idea, but you'll know it when you hear it. That's the beauty of all of this. We hear exactly what we need to hear. So there's a reason you're watching. So I invite you to stay watching. All right, so lesson 279 in the workbook, creation's freedom promises my own. Creation's freedom promises my own. We are created free. We're an extension of God, one with God. God is the author. We use the term Father here in A Course in Miracles, just as it's used in Judeo-Christian terminology. In other words, we didn't make ourselves. God's the creator. We're an extension of him. We are. We are. This is the truth of who we are, and it has never gone anywhere. Creation is freedom. And yes, it does promise our own. An idea that I invite you to entertain, if you've entertained it multiple times in the past, entertain it yet again today. The idea here is that we only appear to be bound. We only appear to be in chains, as the workbook puts it. We only appear to be constrained and limited. Who we are is neither constrained nor limited in any way. And this reality, this identity, this truth was given to us in our creation. So I can feel you doing some of the verbal math here. Yeah, and I invite you to continue to do that. One of the things that's germane to our understanding of today's idea in the workbook is that we have never been abandoned by God's love. It's who we are. We actually cannot be abandoned by it. Why? It's who we are. We've simply gone off and chosen not to see that. We've gone off and chosen not to identify with our reality. Instead, we see ourselves as at war with one another, competing for supposedly scarce resources, inventing complicated worldwide systems like economics that don't make very much sense at all in the abstract, and in light of spirituality make even less sense. We made it all up, in other words. That applies to everything that we see with the body's eyes. That applies to everything that we feel with the so-called physical senses of the body. I invite you to entertain the idea that this is not who we are. I invite you to repeat, like a skipping disc, like a song on repeat on your iPod, again and again, the idea that we've seen in many places here in the workbook, and that is, I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. Just as you've chosen to be bound, so can you choose to be unbound. You can release and leave the chains aside. It's a choice, and I invite you to make it. And may today be the day where you make that choice and it really, truly sinks in for you. God offers each and every one of us freedom now. We do not have to wait until this mechanism, this communication device that we call the body, dies. You may have been instructed ad nauseum otherwise in a fundamentalist religious tradition, as I was. So I can speak to this from direct experience. You don't have to wait until you die. Freedom is offered you right now, and it is yours, but for the choosing. So choose it. I invite you to entertain these ideas. If you do nothing else, entertain them. How do we heal? We accept healing for ourselves. How do we show up in the world as a healer, right? As a bringer of the light, whether you call that a light worker or just somebody who's positive and has a positive influence in the world. Whatever the term we use, how do we do it? Well, we accept healing for ourselves. We accept healing, and it just extends automatically. We accept the truth of who we are, and it extends automatically. It is love. When fully accepted, it radiates out through you to every living thing. Now, the exact form that takes, well, I don't know, and you can't know necessarily in the moment either. You just ask your teacher to show you what to do, and you'll be shown. It's a process, a deep spiritual process of relaxing and trusting. Choose to relax and trust. The word choose is operative here, isn't it? It's about a choice in the present moment. Because creation's freedom does promise our own. All we have to do is choose it. That's it. That's all we have to do. So thank you for joining me on this video, and I'll be back with more, what I hope are very deeply uplifting, positive, healing messages for you. Now you know what to do, so I invite you to go forward and do it.